the last thing on earth I am is anti-Semitic. They're Jewish members of my family, although I'm not Jewish. I have great respect for Judaism and its adherents. I also, frankly, have a lot of respect for Israel. And I'm sorry to see it so badly corrupted by the occupation, and to see its values so badly damaged by the settlement process in the occupied territories. The humane spirit that Israel used to evoke is now replaced by something else.
Do you feel that the lobbies, the groups that reflect American Jews' concerns about Israel, that may reflect Israeli policy, have too much influence in public policy in the United States today?
Well, I think the right-wing elements that I referred to, which are loosely called the Israel lobby, as I said, I'd prefer the term Likud lobby, in fact have a hammerlock on both public discussion and policy. And the objective of their campaign against me was to reinforce that hammerlock, to enforce the taboo against any critical discussion of Israeli policies and what they might mean for Israel's future or the future of the United States as affected by Israel's future, to ensure that this group which is a very well-organized group, as can be readily discerned from their messages crowing about how they organized this campaign, to reinforce their veto power over appointments to the government, to ensure that analysis was not value-free, but pro-Israel in orientation and, to some extent, anti-Arab, and finally, to ensure that the policy process remains supportive of whatever it is that whoever is in power in Israel demands.
Ambassador Freeman, had you taken on this job, people say you have such strong views on the Middle East, on Israel, on the Arabs, you wouldn't have been able to provide good, impartial intelligence. What do you think you would have been able to do had you had that job?
I served my country in diplomatic positions, including analytical positions, over the course of 30 years. I know very well how to submerge my own opinion and to articulate the views of the collective, the organization, the government that I serve. I don't have any particular agenda with regard to Israel or any other issue. What I do have is an iconoclastic mind. I don't like people who assert things because they've heard them. They are the conventional wisdom, and I would have challenged people to produce evidence that what they were saying had some grounding in evidence. In other words, I think this business of that somehow how or rather an analytical job cannot be done by somebody with a critical mind is an oxymoron.
What about China? One of the statements of yours that people bring up is a statement that you made about Tiananmen Square, in which it sounded like you were saying that the Beijing government was doing the right thing.
The statement that was circulated omitted the first part of the sentence, which was the subject of the sentence, which was the predominant view in China, meaning that I was describing the dominant view of the Chinese leadership after they had conducted an after-action review of the whole event.
In other words, not your own views, but the views of the Chinese government.
Exactly. And that, of course, I don't think very many in the China field would dispute that. That is a weak and divided and indecisive Chinese government in 1989 allowed demonstrators to occupy the center of their government facilities and to disrupt the normal functioning of government for 5 or 6 weeks while they dithered. And the result of this was, they believe, that it made a bloody outcome almost inevitable, and the setback to reform that caused was also an inevitable consequence of this.
Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. You said something quite striking, that Al-Qaeda succeeded in its principal goal, which was to cause an estrangement between the United States and the Saudi Arabian monarchy. Do you believe that that is reversible? Do you believe that that is now something that just has, because the popular sentiment, certainly in the United States, is that the Saudi Arabian government and the regime and the society has in some sense spawned Al-Qaeda?
Yeah, no, I think that Saudi Arabia has definitely been successfully vilified in our politics. Any association with Saudi Arabia of any kind, as my own experience probably demonstrates, is a very large black mark. Similarly, in Saudi Arabia, the United States is now amazingly unpopular and disliked. The American invasion of Iraq, a fellow Arab country, the American backing of Israeli actions in Lebanon and Gaza, and other activities that we've carried out in the region are all deeply resented. Here, obviously, Americans remain traumatized and very angry about 9/11, as we should be.
But you wouldn't blame you don't think Saudi religious organizations or the Wahhabi clerics created this kind of Frankenstein monster?
I think the atmosphere created by a very narrow-minded, austere version of Islam certainly helped to spawn this. And I note that, in fact, the King of Saudi Arabia has taken very significant actions over the succeeding period, now 8 years, to reform education, to open an interfaith dialogue, both domestically and internationally, to push for tolerance.
So you see the Saudi king, whom you have called Abdullah the Great, you see him as a modernizer and not somebody to be vilified?
Very definitely. Just to consider, for example, what he did on Saudi Arabia's and the Arabs' policies toward Israel and the peace process would justify that epithet. He reversed decades of Saudi policy, which was that Saudi Arabia would be the last country to recognize and normalize relations with Israel. Saudi policy since 2002 has been that it will be the first if Israelis and Palestinians reach a mutually acceptable agreement, and that it will bring all other Arab countries with it in establishing normal relations with Israel.
And what will be the next move for Charles Freeman? Do you still support President Obama? Is this disillusioned you?
It hasn't disillusioned me at all. I feel, first of all, we only have, this is the only president we have. He happens to be a very bright and articulate man with a strategic mind, and what we need more than anything is a strategic review of the policies that have brought us to the sorry pass in which we now find ourselves, not just in the Middle East, but in many other places as well.
Ambassador Charles Freeman, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.